Good evening, everyone. And today's Monday, June 29th, and the time now is 6 p.m. And I will call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's remote participation and remote meeting policy adopted by the Board of Trustees on March 13th, 2023 by resolution number 21-R-2023, remote participation will be allowed. The meeting link has been provided on the town's website and designated posting place 24 hours prior to this meeting. I'd like to remind everyone present, both in person and virtually, of the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings and public hearings. The guidelines are available online and on the entry table. There are 2 public comment opportunities on the agenda for persons in attendance at Town Hall to address the board. The first one is limited to items on the agenda. The second public comment opportunities allow any subject, whether it is on the agenda or not, to be addressed. Marisol, roll call, please.
Mayor Willow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Trustee Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Crane.
Here.
Trustee Hagan.
Here.
Trustee Schranz.
Here.
Mayor Willow, today is Monday, June 29, 2026, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Please join me in a moment of silence in recognition of the 3 firefighters who lost their lives battling the Snyder Fire in Western Colorado. Thank you very much for your time. Please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'm going to review and approve agenda. Unfortunately, Karen Banks is not able to join us tonight to discuss the I-25 roundabout branding and art. So we will reschedule the informational item, which is 6A, and the consent agenda item, which is 9D, to the next meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to remove resolution number 41-R-2026 from consent for general discussion.
What number was it? 41? Okay, so that's E, 9E. All right, may I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Marisol.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Hagan.
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Willow.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have an agenda for this evening's meeting. Next is our staff report by our town manager. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees. You have my report. I do have a few things I'd just like to add, kind of as a reminder. As you know, this weekend is 4th of July. I think you're going to see a lot of restrictions on fireworks. I've been reading a lot of places are shutting them down because of the drought and the wildfires going on. We will have our 4th of July bike parade on Saturday at 10 a.m. No coffee with the mayor. That's been canceled due to the kind of a tight scheduling conflict. The Blushing Raven downtown's ribbon cutting is Saturday at 10 a.m. Saturday the 11th, not Saturday the 4th. CML conference, a couple of us went. I just wanted to comment that there were some really good sessions, particularly the legal sessions is what I enjoyed, but it was really a nice conference put on in Westminster and extremely convenient to drive back and forth. And then a lot of you, I guess, got to stay there. So either way, it was nice. Ballots are due tomorrow by 7 p.m. You can put them over here in this ballot box over by the community center until 7 p.m. tomorrow. Mary's going to reach out and see if we can find how many ballots they collected, just out of curiosity. I've seen people using it, and I just was curious if it's been helpful. So that's exciting. Our new roundabout, our first roundabout in Mead is open at 32 and High Plains Boulevard. I went through it this afternoon. You can go north on it, maybe a quarter of a mile to access two businesses, but the rest of it, they've got it barricaded off. And as you know, they're moving over, there's really no crews working on it now. They put the first lift of asphalt on the whole stretch of the road, but they're moving over there on the 8th. They're going to start construction of the roundabout at 34 in High Plains Boulevard, and they're closing 34. They're going to do a mill and overlay all the way from basically from 9.5 to 13. So when they open that road up, it's going to be really nice. 34 will be nice, 9.5 will be open. Right now, they're saying October that'll all be open. We'll see. So far, everything has gone according to schedule or ahead of schedule. So if you get a chance, go over there, take a spin. You can just keep going around and around the roundabout if you want, or you can fly off on any one of the exits. The other thing, the paving is almost complete down at the new fire station and library. The road, they are doing the last connection, I think tonight. One of our guys is working late, that they're actually connecting it to Liberty Ranch. I do expect to see a little change in the traffic patterns, like especially if you live on the north end of Liberty Ranch, you'll probably start coming out to use the signal, especially if you want to go west. So we'll probably see a little shift of people using it. It's really exciting. The library is getting very close. If you get a chance, you can wander through it. I did it last week. But it's pretty exciting to see everything going on. The school is almost done. And of course, you know, it'll be opening up this fall. But a lot of things that are going on that end of town are pretty exciting. So, yeah, that's all I got. I know I do expect people to get upset when 34 closes because it was closed for a while and then it was open back up. 32 is closed for a while and then it'll open back up. 28's open. So it is a bit of a whack-a-mole, but by early fall, everything will be open and we'll all forget about the pain. So and that's all my updates.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Helen tonight? Oh, sorry, I didn't see your.
On the roundabout, I just tried to go through it. And it can only go north-south. There's no east or west on it yet. Do you know when the east-west is going to be open to go under the bridge or to Colorado?
Well, East-West should be open. When I went on it, it was.
I came from it from the east and I had to turn around and go back around and go back to 66 and back around. Then I tried to go through it to go west under the bridge and they had that closed too. So
They must have
turn around,
closed
back
it
to
off
66.
because they were doing some more striping when I was there. I was there about 4:30.
I was there at 5.
Huh. Are you sure it was the same roundabout? I mean-
I was thinking about trying to bust through there.
Yeah, you should have just gone right through this. I don't know. I mean, when I was there, they were doing some painting, so I'll go back over tomorrow and make sure because it was supposed to be open in 3 directions, east, west particularly, and then obviously south. But they might have had some glitch. So sorry about that. I gave you bad directions.
It's all right. And what is did you say Blushing Raven?
Yes.
Oh, where's that at?
Okay. You know where the dentist is?
Yeah,
That's not
okay.
it. That's next
It's
to it.
in that building?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, we'll move on to informational items. We bumped 6A, so we'll move on to 6B, the 2027 budget preview. Will be presented by our Administrative Services Director and Town Treasurer, Mary Strutt.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Board, for having me here tonight. I'm Mary Strutt, Administrative Services Director, and I'm happy to represent Town Manager Mickelbrink and the rest of staff in presenting to you this project's update for 2026 and a little bit of a starting look at 2027. We'll see where we go.
Is it on? Yeah, it's on.
Okay. So part of the discussion today, we're going to do a little bit of a snapshot of 2026 and a projects update for 2026. I'll let you know what carryover projects we have to 2027 because they're already in the works. So we got to make sure we budget for those in 2027. We've got some potential 2027 projects. We want to do a discussion of board priorities at this meeting and the next meeting, and then I'll give you a tentative budget schedule. It's not going to work for me today. Go ahead. Okay, so here's 2026 year to date. Just a quick look at our budget. Revenues, our biggest revenues are taxes and building. So building permits, we had budgeted 91 single family homes this year. We're almost halfway through the year. Year to date, we're at 38. So we're falling a little short on the building permits for this year. This will affect use tax collections, building permit fees, and impact fee revenues. Again, haven't really done a deep dive into any of this yet because right now I'm living in 3 years, right? I'm finishing up the 2025 audit, which will be presented to you at your next meeting. We're starting to look at 2026, where we're at, and starting to project to 2027. Property tax revenue are on target. They generally are because we get those really good numbers from Weld County to predict off of. Sales tax is actually exceeding our predictions or our projections, which is good news. That's partly because of some construction going on in town, which brings us some sales, some use tax, like that big water main project going on. But it's also due to inflation and possibly some new businesses coming in. So, and we're going to continue to maximize our grant funding. Our expenditures for 2026 that we'll see in the budget when we talk about it is several large capital projects, which are wrapping up, but we're going to continue to expect the inflationary increases in costs. I don't have any numbers for you tonight, so I hope you weren't looking for that. I'm just going to talk to you about these projects. And what I would say about 2026, in the words of our town manager, that this was a year of firsts. We had a lot of good firsts this year. Our first roundabout, our first traffic signal, Third and Welker, the first traffic signal in Mead, first library coming into town, our first drone show coming up, and our first ballot box. So a lot of firsts this year. Some of the successes I listed on your screen there, the community center has opened with increased programming, and they keep adding more and more programming to the community center every day. The team over there is doing a fantastic job. The Third and Welker intersection, Liberty Ranch restrooms with storage got their CO about 2 weeks ago. Municipal facilities, High Plains Library and Mountain View Fire, we expect those by the end of the year. Police facility design and funding, we're going to talk more about the funding at the next meeting on July 13th. The Prost Master Plan is coming to you at your next meeting. And then the wastewater treatment plant digester blower. Other projects that weren't as major, but still really are. The 1601 process for County Road 38 and I-25 interchange, still moving forward, still work going on there. The clerk's office has done some major public records archival and gotten more information onto the public records portal, so you should see that. We talked about doing a reserve policy this year. That's still on the books, so we didn't forget it, just want to make sure it's there. The development team is looking at application management software that was in the budget for 26. The annual pavement management projects are underway. I think Grandview is done. Mulligan Lake, there was some work done there this year, so it's still ongoing, but some work is done. And then on the signage, we did some solar lighting and some improvements to the gateway signs. So here's some that are still expected to finish this year. High Plains Boulevard, Weld County Road 32 to 36. Helen just gave that great update that should be done September, October. We're looking for the land use code update project is still moving forward. The community development team is working on that. And we still have some safe routes to school work going on, putting in some trails. And we're overseeing the I-25 sewer realignment program. That goes along with the I-25 work that's going on. And I've got on the bottom there that some of these will be late into 2027 before they get done, like the 7 and 66 underpass. That's going to take some work, but it's starting. The roundabout branding and monumentation that you didn't hear about tonight, you'll hear about it at the next meeting, and the police facility. So these carryover projects, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have to make sure we get these in the budget, right? Because they're started, they need to be finished. We have money allocated for them in 2026. So you'll see these in the 2027 budget also. A lot of them have grant funds tied to them. The police facility, pedestrian underpass, the roundabout art, branding and monumentation, those were all just mentioned. The bridge, the 34 bridge replacement, that's the one out by Mead Ponds. We had also already did a little work on Southwest Weld multi-jurisdictional trail. Remember, that's the one down by the high school and on over to Union Reservoir that involves several different municipalities working on it. And then the County Road 7 pavement design with Berthoud, still working on that and still working on how to fund it. We did get some money, some federal money for it, but we need more. So 2027, just going to go right in there. What are we expecting? Sales tax, I think they're going to still increase. I would still put them in as an increase due to mainly inflation. It's interesting, inflationary. I've just read a recent article on the inflationary effects, and it's saying that people are still out there shopping and doing stuff. They're not cutting back as much as economists thought they would with the inflation. So property tax 2026 assessments, remember this is a reassessment year. We had kind of a danger this year of property tax values, again, from our standpoint, going down because they went up so high in 2024. And I think in some of the mountain towns they might, but I'm not seeing it here in Mead. We will not get the assessed values from Weld County until August. But I got mine in the mail, and mine is exactly the same as it was last year. And I checked on some houses in different neighborhoods, and they're looking pretty similar to what they were last year. So I think our property tax will remain flat in 2027. Residential housing, we're going to kind of estimate it at still kind of slow. We just haven't seen that increase in housing builds or people buying new houses. Staffing, we don't have a lot to say about that at this time. But again, we do see those inflationary costs coming forward. Next. So the board had told us their priorities for 2026, which will move into 2027, were strategic planning. Some of that strategic planning starts with that Prost plan. And then we talked about maybe moving that into a comprehensive plan amendment. So with the budget, we'll have to talk about if that's where we go. The economic development plan is ongoing. Again, see where that goes and what from that we need to look at for the 2027 budget, along with the housing plan. And I'd like to talk more about board priorities at the July 27th meeting. Your 13th meeting is pretty full. So at the 27th meeting, I'd really like to talk about what is this board looking for and what do you want in there? What are there projects? Are there things that we have mentioned that you're interested or not? Because again, I kind of have a little idea of where revenues are going to be. Some of the expenditures are set with those projects that are carryover, but what's next? And that's what we need to talk about before we start building the budget. So if we can talk about that at the meeting on the 27th, I'll open up that discussion. So bring your ideas, please, to that meeting. Next slide. So here's some ideas that we've had on kind of the back burner for a couple of years. So these should be ones that, or could be ones that we could look at, right? There are some significant park improvements that could be done. You know, particularly we've talked about in the past, Ames Park. Does that need to be built out more? Founders Park near the, not Founders Park, Liberty Ranch by the fire station and the new library. You know, do we want to do any more building out of that? So there's some significant park improvements that could be done if we had the funding to do them. So it's a thought. Facility planning and what our facilities look like. There could be some strategic annexations that the board wants to talk about. There could that comprehensive plan update that I mentioned. Wayfinding signage master plan. We've been doing the Town of Mead branding with the wayfinding signage. And it's time to kind of regroup and talk about where we want to go next with that and maybe come up with a plan. 38 and I-25, if that interchange gets approved, we'll need to talk some about the funding and how it gets funded. Obviously, it's not all coming from us because we can't build that interchange, but we may have to contribute. We've had that community center splash pad idea thrown out there. And we'd like to, as staff, investigate in-house IT services. As the staff gets bigger, we're running more servers. It might be something we need to investigate going forward. So here's your preliminary schedule. Again, not trying to, this is just a beginner, right? So in June, just going to talk to you about the projects today. And as staff, we're trying to finish up the audit. The draft, I believe, came today. So we'll get it reviewed and back to you by the 13th. In July, you'll have the audit presentation to you, and we'll have that meeting talking about board priorities. What staff will be doing in the background is I'm going to take that forecast, I'm going to take the 2025 actuals and get them into the budget and start forecasting 2026 so that we can get it to staff so they can start doing their budgets. August, we'll talk more about projects and priorities. And again, this is all according to what the board wants, right? If you want meetings or work sessions or retreats to talk about projects and priorities, please let me know. Staff is going to, in the background, be vetting projects and preparing budget proposals. I'd like to be able to present the initial budget to the board on September 28th and hold a public hearing on October 26th. So those are the dates that we'd like to try to target. We can have meetings in November to finalize it or approve it or adopt it. Our mill levy is due to be certified with the state by December 15th. So those are the dates we're looking at. I'll have a more detailed schedule for you at the meeting in December, but I wanted to get this preliminary information out to you.
Thanks, Mary. Questions, comments? Trustee Hagan.
You mentioned the reserve policy. Would that help if we had that in place? Would it help budgeting? I mean, isn't that where you contemplate whatever the board's reserve policy is?
Absolutely. Yep. So that's something that we'll need to talk about over the next couple of meetings is the reserve policy. Currently, our reserve policy is 30 to 40% of expenditures, and the board had discussed wanting to increase that number because 30 to 40% of expenditures won't get you very far in an emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is scheduled to finally get worked through.
Yep.
'Cause we've talked about that for quite a while, it seems like.
It's been on the list. We haven't really talked about it, right? It's been on the list. It's been on the list.
Right.
It's time to move it forward.
Good. Thanks.
And I believe the number I heard from the board, and we can talk about this when I bring it forward, but I believe the number was about 75, 80% of expenditures. Again, if our budget is $10 to $11 million, that gets us about a $7 or $8 million reserve, which is how much we currently have in reserves.
And is that typical? I mean, is that what?
Oh, we're way over on our reserve. But,
So the state requires 3%. And we have 35 to 40 in our policy because that's what a previous board set a number for. But the discussions have been, right, if a tornado comes through Mead and takes out a bridge, it doesn't really care.
But what do neighboring communities have?
What I will look at that as part of the reserve
Okay.
policy review.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
One more question.
Sure.
Do you know what our revenues are per capita in comparison to other adjacent communities as well? Meaning like for the general fund and I think the road 1% sales tax is in.
Is in a special fund. You're
Right.
right. It's in a separate fund.
So I guess it'd be hard to compare because there's so much mixing of those different
Well, and everybody
their-
has special funds.
as different things.
Yeah,
But for just the general fund, is that a comparison you can make too?
absolutely. I can get that to you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thanks very, very much. All right, we'll move on to proclamations. The first one is Wildfire Awareness and Firefighter Recognition Month of July 2026. I've asked Trustee Trance to read the proclamation tonight.
Proclamation for Wildfire Awareness and Firefighter Recognition Month, July 2026. Whereas Colorado summer season brings increased heat, dry conditions, and the potential for dangerous wildfires that threaten our landscapes, homes, and way of life. And whereas wildfire risk is heightened in rural communities like Mead, where open spaces, agriculture areas, and wildland-urban interfaces require constant vigilance. And whereas our local fire departments, including the Mountain View Fire Rescue Team, respond quickly, skillfully, and courageously to protect lives, property, and natural resources from threat and fire. And whereas firefighters, emergency responders, and dispatchers undergo continuous training and make difficult sacrifices to serve our community during wildfire season and throughout the year. And whereas public awareness, personal responsibility, and fire mitigation efforts are critical to reducing wildfire risk and improving emergency response outcomes. Now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, Mayor of the Town of Mead, does hereby proclaim the month of July 2026 as a Wildfire Awareness and Firefighter Recognition Month in the Town of Mead, and urges all residents to join in recognizing the critical work of our first responders, practicing fire-safe behaviors and remaining vigilant throughout the wildfire season. Given under her hand and seal in the Town of Mead on this day, 29th June 2026.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I move to approve the signing of this proclamation.
Second.
Thank you. Mayor Saul, roll call, please.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. We'll move on to our second proclamation tonight. It's 250th anniversary of America and 150th anniversary of Colorado. And I've asked Trustee Adams to read the proclamation tonight.
Proclamation 250th anniversary of American independence and 150th anniversary of Colorado statehood. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the nation's founding. And whereas August 1st, 2026 marks the 150th anniversary of Colorado's admission to the Union as the 38th state, earning it its title, the Centennial State. And whereas the unique intersection of the anniversaries, the 250th and 150th, offer a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reflect on our shared history, honor, heritage of Colorado's indigenous people, and celebrate the diverse communities that shape our future. And whereas the American 250th, Colorado 150th Commission was established to foster community efforts, educational opportunities, and commemorative events that recognize the full spectrum of our shared past. And whereas Colorado is committed to celebrating the spirit of the West and the resilience of its people and the preservation of its natural beauty, striving for a more perfect union that is inclusive and forward-looking. Therefore now, Colleen Whitlow, Mayor of the Town of Mead, Colorado, do by here proclaim the year 2026 as America's 250th, Colorado's 150th year in the Town of Mead, Colorado, encouraging all residents to celebrate the historic milestones through local events, education, and community reflection. Given under her hand and seal of the Town of Mead, Colorado on this 29th day of June 2026.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I make a motion to approve proclamation.
Second.
Mayor Saul, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz,
Yes.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. We have some representatives in the audience from the Daughters of the American Revolution. Please join us in capturing this moment for our nation and our state. So all of you trustees come down. How are you?
Are you off? Or should you? Are you good? A little bit this way. All right, okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tonight. Thanks. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on to our public comment. The board welcomes public comment at this time for any item on the agenda. We will also take comments on items not on the agenda during the second public comment, number 10. Please remember that public comment is not intended to be a question and answer session. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. All comments should be directed to the Board of Trustees and not to specific individuals. If you wish to speak during this first public comment period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Please start by stating your name and address for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Board of Trustees. If you are representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. We ask that all speakers and audience members treat one another with respect and dignity. Let's ensure we maintain a welcoming environment and avoid any actions that could be distracting. Marisol, do we have anyone signed up for this public comment?
Not for this one, Mayor.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees on an agenda item tonight? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda minus
41.
resolution number 40 and resolution number 41. So the consent agenda, the consent agenda items, which are considered routine and are approved with one motion and vote. I want to recognize staff for putting together these items and the board for reviewing them ahead of tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Marisol, roll call, please.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Hagan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Mayor Willow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Consent agenda is approved, and we'll move on to resolution number 41-R-2026. And for the record, it's a resolution of the town of Mead, Colorado, approving a professional services agreement with Alfred Binish and Company for project and construction management services for state and federal funded projects. State Highway 66 pedestrian underpass project, which is the project number 2026-004. I will turn over the podium over to Trustee Hagan with questions or comments.
Erica, we spoke about this before the meeting, but I wanted to just ask, is this a 6-month construction period? That's the way I read it. It was supposed to end in December and not start until after you bid it. So
It's a 9-month construction window. So the services would be to bid the project and then have a 9-month construction window.
9 months. 9 total months of full-time is what the
Yes,
proposal includes.
correct.
And so in the budget was 400 and what thousand?
I believe it was 490.
I mean, just quick math is how I always review these things. And so I look at $200 an hour, that's over 2,000 hours, man hours for that window of bidding and construction. And I think that's just out of line to have someone full-time in the office and someone full-time on site, plus another, direct expense could be built into that too. So I just wanted to remove it to vote against it.
Okay. Any other questions for Erica while she's up at the podium? All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 41-R-2026?
I move to approve resolution 41R-2026.
I'll
A
second.
resolution from Town of Mead, Colorado, approving a professional services agreement with Alfred Bennett and Company for project and construction management services for state federally funded projects, State Highway 66 pedestrian underpass project, project number 2026-4.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Marisol.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Strands,
Yes.
trustee Hagan,
No.
trustee Crane,
No.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Resolution number 41-R-2026 is approved. Move on to second public comment of the night. We have no further general business in which we would have, this brings us to our second regular public comment period, which we would have for any item, whether it's on the agenda or not. We will follow the same guidelines previously stated. I will call on individuals in the order that they have signed up. Again, I ask that all speakers and audience members treat one another with respect and dignity. Marisol, is there anyone that is signed up for this public comment period?
Yes, Mayor, we have Byron Fessler.
Okay, sir. Sir, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees. My name is Brian. I have the honor and privilege of serving as president of the Highlands Mead Metropolitan District. Madam Mayor, I represent 200 homeowners. May I have 5 minutes, please?
You may, sir.
Thank you. 5 months ago, I stood before this board and warned that the town had a serious problem. At the time, my concerns were dismissed by the town attorney. And it appeared that the town attorney and the town manager were unaware of the approximately $1.6 million in unfinished and deficient public improvements remaining in our community. Since then, the town has settled with the developer, Highlands Mead LLC, Will Edgington and Serge Goldberg, for $800,000 and released them from their obligations. The district was not part of that settlement. The town has publicly stated that the settlement funds will only be used for roads, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Interestingly, those public improvements belong to the town. At the same time, the town is attempting to shift approximately $855,000 in unfinished landscaping, irrigation repairs, remaining warranty obligations, historical costs already incurred, and the unresolved box culvert bridge, all to the district. There's another contradiction that is difficult to ignore. For 6 years, the town had the authority to enforce its agreements with the developer, but never took meaningful action. Yet after releasing the developer, the town issued 3 code violations to the district for the very Phase 2 landscaping that remains unfinished and is still under the developer's warranty for another 14 months. In response to my email to the code enforcement officer, the chief of police advised me that no citations had been issued and that there was latitude to work with the responsible party to reach a satisfactory resolution. The responsible party was the developer until the town chose to release it. The town cannot release the responsible party and then expect the district to assume its obligations. To be clear, the district is proceeding with emergency landscaping measures, not because it's responsible for the unfinished improvements, but because it has a duty of care to protect the community from further deterioration. If we do nothing, Phase 2 will suffer the same decline as Phase 1. We are protecting the community while reserving all of our legal rights, and we will seek restitution for the costs the district has been forced to incur. The deputy town attorney has stated that this matter has been resolved, that the town has no remaining legal obligations, and that the district must simply comply with the town's direction. Respectfully, That is not how this works. The Highlands Mead Metropolitan District is a governmental entity. The town and the district entered into a very high-level service plan and an intergovernmental agency agreement that govern our relationship. Those controlling agreements establish when and how ownership and long-term maintenance responsibilities may be transferred. They require completed improvements, compliance with town standards, inspections, warranties, formal acceptance, and proper conveyance. The town chose to settle with the developer rather than pursue litigation. Had the matter proceeded to court, both the developer's failures and the town's 6 years of missed enforcement would likely have been subject to scrutiny. On behalf of the district, I have repeatedly asked the town to meet with us and negotiate a fair and reasonable solution. Instead of engaging with the district, the town has taken the position that all legal matters have been resolved, leaving us with no practical alternative but to seek legal relief. Accordingly, the district's $855,000 demand letter will be forthcoming. This is not the path that we wanted to take, but we will pursue every available remedy to ensure the developer's obligations and the consequences of the town's failure to enforce its own agreements are not shifted onto the 200 families who relied on the town to do its job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fessler. Marisol, is there anyone else signed up for this?
Nobody else signed up.
Okay, is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees on any item on the agenda or off the agenda?
Don Smith, 325 Main Street. Once again, we see the 5 people that are up for their seats are coming up, at least whoever's going to run. We have a professional on the board who does this for a living, civil engineering. This isn't the first time. He gives us professional opinion on a matter of expenditures that you guys are just paying no attention to. You don't ask a single question when he brings this up to Erica, but instead you go right to a vote, and it's like the 5U luck step, walk right through it. Not a single question to him. It's only Erica and what she does. Not why he has a problem with it, not what the issue is, not if the expenditure. This is why all 5 of you need to go, and the ones that are up for re-election. Hopefully you won't get back on the seat. It's disgusting.
Anyone else that would speak to the Board of Trustees? All right, we'll move on to elected official reports. Any of the town trustees would like to say anything?
Me. Todd's ready for this. We've had a discussion. So I recently started a remodel in a basement. Well, not a remodel, sorry. Started a finish in a basement. And I was putting in a kitchen in the basement, so we were calling it an ADU. And through the process of getting permits, the fees eventually hit my inbox and they were astronomical. And so it was because it was applying multifamily fees to the ADU. So after much discussion with Todd, basically we've kind of determined that we need to adjust our code. According to the code, the fees were being applied correctly to my project. However, I don't feel that those fees are fair to apply to an ADU the same as you would apply to, say, a developer that's building a duplex. So I asked Todd, or Todd knew I was going to bring this up, and I was hoping that he would be able to come up here and kind of discuss what he was able to find in his research looking into our code based on other towns that he's worked for. And obviously, if we're going to change our code fees, that's something that the whole board has to kind of agree upon. It can't just be my opinion of the matter. So I was hoping Todd could address that and kind of inform all of us kind of where we're at on that whole thing. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, no problem. Very good. So our land use code currently says that an ADU is the equivalent of 0.5 dwelling units. So in the purposes of density, but also other applications of our municipal code, including impact fees. So that's the way that it's enforced. Per our discussions, there's been a lot of statute and legislation that has come across to talk about ADUs and affordability and lowering the barrier for those. And so that's just something that has to be considered. Of the state didn't limit municipalities' ability to charge impact fees and other fees as they're related to ADUs, but that's a decision that the community, the elected board can make to decide if the impact fees are appropriate for ADUs and the impacts that they include, which is additional individuals at a residence, but also at the same time, as I spoke to Mayor Pro Tem Harris, I haven't assessed impact fees in previous communities I've worked for ADUs. The idea behind that is that it's accessory to the principal use, such as a home occupation or home office. We're not starting to include impact fees related to commercial square footage or various parking requirements. The impact should be small enough as an accessory use that it doesn't produce any additional impacts that need to be assessed. So as a result of that, in other communities, you have a cap, meaning an ADU can only be of a certain size maximum. And the idea behind that is that with that certain size, there is a minimal impact to the town's infrastructure, parks, services, things like that. Some other municipalities say, hey, an accessory dwelling unit is just 1 square foot smaller than the main home. So you could have a 2,500 square foot home and a 2,499 ADU. In that case, that would make a lot of good sense to assess impact fees. It's basically a paired home or a pair of homes on the property. So that's kind of the background that leads to the discussion around impact fees or other fees that are related to adding half a dwelling unit to a property. But that's basically the discussion that we've had. Also, what is the actual impact? So as a result, what is an ADU? We've had to look at, is there separation between the principal home and the ADU? Is there free access? Is there direct access to the outside for that dwelling unit? Is there a full kitchen or is there just a bar? At the end of the day, the number of bedrooms and baths could be the same, regardless of how you answer those questions. So is it just a basement remodel or is it a true accessory dwelling unit? So those are just some of the points and conversations that the board could have and direct staff to amend the code or look at our impact fee study to specifically address it. But that's where we're at right now.
Trustee France.
Is there a maximum size for an ADU for us?
In our code, yes.
What is that maximum size?
It's 850 square feet in RSF 4 and more dense zoning districts. And then it's 1,000 square feet for RSFE and RSF 1.
Okay. And I have a question for Trustee Harris, and I don't mean this to be, I'm just asking a question. Why did you choose to make your basement an ADU instead of just a finished basement?
Well, I didn't realize it was going to impact anything. I was just like, hey, let's just call it an ADU. And I had no idea that was going to be the impact of it. I mean, it was almost $10,000 more in permit fees because it was assessing multifamily. I can't remember. There were a lot of multifamily fees that it was assessing, and if and granted, I'm finishing a basement, but if say somebody who lived on a lot large enough decided to put a 500 square foot granny pad behind their house, or they have an adult child that they would like to be able to have come live with them, right? And they're going to build a small accessory dwelling unit in their backyard, to be hit with an additional $10,000 in fees for something that small is utterly insane. Like that's crazy to me that is assessed the exact same fees as, like I said, somebody who, as a developer who is building 2 duplexes. They're not the same thing.
Are you intending to use this as an ADU? And
no.
How many bedrooms are there?
Well, there's 3 bedrooms that are going in the basement, but I could put 3 bedrooms down there, whether I was adding in the bar or not. There's plenty of room. I could have even put 4 basement bedrooms down there. That's not the point. The point is if I had finished it If I was just finishing that basement and I wasn't putting a bar in there, my fees would have been $10,000 less for the same number of bedrooms, the same number of bathrooms, the same everything. It would not have changed what could go in that basement.
Well, and thanks. That answers my question. I think the question, I think I'm agreeing with Trustee Harris that we don't happen to have a very clear-cut code for ADUs.
Yeah.
We're plugged it into something else, whether call it multifamily or whatever. But I think it's important, if we're going to be experiencing our citizens building ADUs, that we ought to have a pretty clear-cut definition of what an ADU is, appropriate fees and permitting for that definition, whatever that is, and it should be different than.
If you use it as an ADU though, and you get a family, 3 bedrooms allows a family to move in, they're still going to use the parks, they're still going to use the roads, they're still going to have fire and police service, and so it does add to the overall cost for the community. So
it also adds to the property tax value. And isn't our property taxes are what pays for all those things supposedly?
Impact
Well, that's
fees,
what it's supposed to pay for, but
impact fees pay for police stations. So
yeah,
maybe we should think about getting that, since we're looking to fund our police station.
Man, you bring a good point. I have no problem with that. I still think, though, that we're having these discussions because none of us really clearly understand what this whole concept of ADUs is, where it fits, how it fits. So it's kind of a pushback onto staff that says we need to get some sort of a process that identifies ADUs, size, costs, fees, everything. So that when somebody comes up and says, I want to put an ADU in, there it is. And it's reasonable. It's not just, throwing a bunch of numbers.
Well, yeah, it shouldn't be just a flat fee, whether you're putting in a 450 square foot granny pad versus a 2,400 square foot
Right.
thing. That should not be a flat fee, but right now it is. That's what I'm trying to say. Right now, it's a flat fee. No matter what size of thing you're planning to put back there, it's the fees they're just general. And I think we need to define it a lot better. And I think we need to have a scale of how the fees are applied. And so I guess, I would ask for staff to look into that and come back to us with recommendations of wording and fees, and looking at other communities and how they've done it, and come back to us with that information. I'm not saying
I agree with that.
nothing. I'm saying, but we need to make something change. It was one of those, you don't know what you don't know. And I had no idea. I'm sure none of you had any idea that ADU fees were going to be like that. It was just one of those things that when I figured it out, I was like, wow, that's not fair. That's not fair to our residents. We need to make that fair.
I think it kind of defeats the whole purpose of having ADU.
The state, yeah, exactly. If the state says they're a use by right, but then we're going to tax the crap out of that thing, that kind of, it defeats the point of that whole thing of trying to make some affordable housing options for adult kids or older parents.
We'd love to take a look at it because we've had some real robust conversations on it. I would like to just say one thing, and I have seen impact fees done where there's a reducing at the smaller the house, the less the impact and the less the fee to encourage more affordable housing. We'll take a look at it, but I would like to point out that like where I used to live over in Eagle, which is in the Vail Valley, it's a standard practice to build these ADUs into the houses and rent them out. Like when we moved there, we rented a 3-bedroom, 2-bath basement lock off, they called them over there. Mm-hmm. And the people use the projected income from that rent to get their mortgages. So it isn't just always moving your mom in or your kids. You can create an accessory dwelling unit that doubles your house, basically. And my whole family moved in and lived there for 9 months. Mm-hmm. So we have to look at it in terms of making sure development pays its own way and encouraging affordable housing at the same time. But it truly is a way that that's the way people could afford their mortgage over there. Because they got
And I would think that
$2,000
a lot
a
of
month.
young people now too. That's
Yeah,
the way that
exactly.
a lot of young people can afford
Yeah.
to
But we'll-
buy a house nowadays. as well.
Happy to look at it.
So-
We just didn't envision it back in the day when we did our impact fees because ADUs were like, nobody even knew what alphabet soup it even meant. Now it's kind of bringing it down to us. Well, we'll take a look at it for sure, but we have to balance that.
Yes,
As
absolutely.
There is another factor to look at, but while you are looking through that, because I have been to some symposiums, developed builders are now looking at making an ADU pad an option to their home. So in other words, they'll build your home, and if you want an ADU somewhere in the future, during the build cycle, they'll do all the infrastructure that needs to go so that you have it ready there. If 10 years from now you want to put an ADU up already, that's already there. So I don't know how that plays into that. But that's something that I think we need to look at because I have heard that a lot of that's coming down the pipe somewhere down the road. This is how they're trying to offset some of this state mandated stuff.
Yeah, recently, well, not recently, it's actually been for a better part of a decade. Lennar's been doing that. They have that multi-gen suite
Yeah.
in a lot of their lines, as well as Brookfield's starting to do that over some detached garages
Right.
as options and things. So we can take a look at that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Can I just add a question or ask a question? What are the fees exactly? It's not like a tap fee or electrical fees or any of that. It's just, I'm building this. I have these fees that apply. Is that all it is?
So the fees that we're specifically talking about are the same ones that are assessed on all brand new residential units in the town, whether they're single family detached or multifamily.
Okay.
They're related to the parks impact fee, drainage and streets, public facilities.
It's just impact fees.
Just impact fees is what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've already been paid once and now they're going to get paid for the second unit, whether it's inside the house or outside of the house. And that's basically what we're talking about. Because
Per our code, that extra half DU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that this needs to be looked at because there's a reason why this was put into place and it's to help people. It's not to hurt people.
But that doesn't include like increasing their sewer tap monthly or anything like that, or water, or, well, we don't control the water, but we do control the sewer.
Yeah, one of the important components of this as an accessory use is that it has to come off of all the same services,
Yeah.
whether they're water, sewer, electrical. That's what makes it accessory.
But it would add a lot more to it, supposedly, if there's more people taking showers.
We finished our basement.
Not finishing an ADU
My
would.
mom lives with me. Like, so whether I had finished that basement to have somebody move in with me or finish that basement and had kids that took the space, didn't affect the number of people living there, whether I finished that basement for my own family or finished it because our family was expanding, or whether I finished it because I wanted to rent it out to Joe Schmo. Like, I guess we'll leave it to them to figure that out, but.
So no more flush.
We'll take a look at it because I'm sure other communities have grappled with it, but we're going to have the fairness factor. Because it does increase the value of your property if you create a legal lock-off. Because you can use that, you can rent it if you want to, and you could charge your kids rent or your mom if you want to. You see what I mean? You could be effectively doubling your footprint. But we also understand that typically what we're trying to do is create a more affordable housing solution. So we'll look at it. I mean, like I said, our code didn't think about it years ago. So we need to look at it and we'll come back with options.
You.
Okay. Any of the trustees have anything? Good job. All right. I don't have anything. We'll move on to adjournment. But after that, just for the folks in the room, we do have a work session after our regular business meeting. It's going to be on e-bikes, electric scooters, and e-dirt bikes. So you may want to stick around. But do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Mayor Zoll.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes, please.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. The June 29, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is now adjourned at 6:59. All right, thank you everyone for coming, and we'll stop the recording and we will welcome Deputy Town Attorney Evan King to start the discussion on e-bikes, electric scooters, and e-dirt bikes.